Hi everyone, my name is Izzy Jagels, and today my lesser known historical figure will be Percy Julian. Also, excuse the hiccups, they will not go away for some reason. But yeah. So first we are going to start with some background information. So he was born in Montgomery, Alabama, April 11th, 1899, and then he ended up living until 1975. He's mostly known for creating a cure, and it's called physostigmine, and that ended up curing glaucoma, which is like an eye disease. I'll get into that more in depth later. But yeah, so like that's what he's kind of like mostly known for. But he had 5 siblings in his family, and then as well as his mother and his father. And his mom and dad were super big on education and like him going to school. Like they both went to school and everything, and they graduated with degrees. His mom ended up being a school teacher, and then his father was a railroad clerk. So they were like super big on education. They definitely like recommended it. They said that he should go, along with all of his siblings as well. They just highly recommended it. So he ended up going. He went to elementary school, and he went to a segregated elementary school just because he was African American. And then he ended up going to a high school. And this high school was kind of hard to come upon just because, like, in the town that he was in, there weren't many options for African Americans because African Americans in the South didn't like necessarily go to school. For some reason that was just like kind of how it was, and there also weren't many options for going to school as well. It was just kind of like you didn't go, you just worked. So he ended up attending a high school called the State Normal School for Negroes. And then after that, he proceeded his education with college, and he ended up going to DePauw University. He graduated with a bachelor degree, and then he also graduated as a Phi Beta Kappa, and also first in his class. So those are also like just super big achievements in itself, especially being like an African American. That was a super big thing, and I think a super big like step in history in itself. But anyway, then after that, he ended up teaching for 2 years at a school, and then he decided that he wanted to continue his education, so he went to Harvard. And then after that, he continued teaching, and then he decided that he kind of wanted to be like a scientist. And so that's kind of where it gets into like more of the like why he's important, so I'll save that for after. But yeah, so he also ended up getting married to a woman named Anna Roselle Johnson, and they ended up having 2 kids, super happy. And then they were married until he died, which was 1975. But yeah, so I think that he's just a super important like figure in American history. But yeah, so like I said, that was some of his like background information. So now let's get into just like why I think that why he's such a big historical figure, and then also why like he should be taught in a class like this. So he was a steroid chemist as well as an entrepreneur. So like I said, he invented physostigmine, and then that is a compound that is the active ingredient of the calabar bean, and it's used medicinally as like it's in like eye drops and stuff, and it just kind of helps with a disease. And so this disease is called glaucoma, and it just kind of damages your eyes like optic nerves and everything. And so this was like a huge thing. And so he was the one that actually like ended up figuring out the cure and then like treating it. And then on top of that, he also worked with like aid groups to help African Americans with the advancements of like space and just kind of like everything. And so in order to do that, he had to break the color barrier, and like between like whites and African Americans and everything. And so the way that he did that was, so he went to school, he accomplished so much, and he ended up like showing this to everyone. And so that was like his big way of kind of breaking the color barrier. And then for everyone else, he tried to break the color barrier as well. And so he tried to show everyone that like it's worth it. He showed them the opportunities that they had. Like he showed them that like they had the same exact opportunities that he did, like as he was growing up. Like they could be who he is now, or well, I guess who he was, but he was just trying to show everyone that like they could become whatever they wanted to if they just put their mind to it. And so that was like a super big way in which he kind of like broke that color barrier. And then I think that this is honestly like a super big thing in history, because like he didn't only show that African Americans can achieve great things along with whites, but also that it was worth it and it was worth the fight. Like they honestly just had to put their minds to it. And so, like I said, like I think that he has achieved great things, especially with like this huge step in history, because he was the kind of the one to like truly like break the color barrier and kind of get everyone to like realize that like equality is a thing. Like, and obviously people didn't accept it at the time, but like it was slowly starting to become a thing like at this point. So this was like already a huge step in history because he was the one to do this. And the way that he did this is another like huge step, but the way that he did this is honestly because like he went to school and he showed everyone that it was possible to do that, and he showed everyone that like anyone, whatever color you are, could be anything that you wanted to as long as you put your mind to it. Because like I said, like he was the one that came up with a cure to a disease that was unknown to many, and like he came up with that cure, and he probably saved like an insane amount of people, and we just don't know it to this day. But that is the reason why I think that he is a super like important historical figure. He took huge steps in history. He also was one to accomplish one disease of many, but he was one to accomplish like one disease, and he figured out how to treat it and diagnose it and everything. But yeah, that is why I think that he is a big historical figure.